Cycling kits today are everywhere, minimalist, technical, and increasingly shaped by design culture as much as performance. And then there's SYN. So today, we're diving into SYN's story, where it came from and why it's so polarising, and whether perception should really shape what we wear on the bike. Now, SYN's story begins decades before the logo ever hit Instagram. Back in 1993 in the Saxon town of Chemnitz, a small textile company was formed by the Biehler family. Originally focused on high-performance sports undergarments, the company evolved under the leadership of Steffi Barth and her son, Sascha Winkler, pivoting fully into cycling apparel by the early 2000s. Now, this wasn't surface-level gear. Biehler specialised in technical fabrics, race-ready silhouettes, and fully in-house manufacturing.
It's kind of cool to have it all here and to create styles within one season and then to test and finally to release them all within 1 year. And this is kind of special, and it's cool for us because once we have a design idea, for example, we can go to the printing room, print the fabrics, then we can sew it together and finally wear it.
Equal designs for men and women, recycled materials, crash replacement policies, and everything built around performance, durability, and sustainability. And Sascha, he wasn't just the managing director, he was the architect behind the shift. And that makes it no surprise that when a new vision for the brand began to take shape, it all came from him.
Right now, I can say, I've been here for almost 20 years. I started when I was a teenager. And so let's see what happens in 10 years, or I don't know. It probably will be a good story.
And so it sounds like from the very beginning, it was mostly just you and your mom. So what kinds of things were you doing? Just pretty much everything together?
Exactly, pretty much everything. So my mother has a lot of knowledge, of course, because she studied textile technology, and she became a sewer herself when she was younger, and so she has all the knowledge about the productional parts. And for me, I get knowledge in these design things and marketing, and yes, it was a pretty good time, yeah.
Now, before it was a standalone label, SYN was actually a cycling club, the Biehler Syndicate. SYN was launched as a global cycling community. Members got access to exclusive kits, private Strava groups, Zwift rides, discounts, and in-person events across Europe. And the syndicate, it became SYN. Now, what sets SYN apart from the rest? At face value, SYN looks like the kind of kit designed for urban cyclists who know their fonts. Clean lines, monochrome tones, zero clutter, and a fit that's more tailored than traditional. But it's not just aesthetic. SYN's gear is still rooted in the same performance-first mindset from its Biehler days. And everything is still produced in Europe, either in-house or by trusted partners in Portugal and Italy. So while it may look like another fashion cycling crossover, SYN is backed by real racewear credentials. And that brings us to the gear. SYN offers a full range of kit, from bibs, base layers and skin suits to heavier outerwear, streetwear and accessories. But where things get interesting is the design lab capsule. Created by founder Sascha Winkler, it's a collection inspired by 90s graffiti and his own roots in Chemnitz underground scene.
Use your illusion to find me on my Sony Discman, reminiscing about the 90s. Come with me, and I'ma show you how we go back in the days. I'll take you back in the days.
A little bit like what Panama do with the TKO collection, designed by the founder Carl Oscar Olsen. And while €165 for a jersey or €250 for bibs might raise eyebrows, the price does reflect that small batch European manufacturing, not hype markup or outsourced shortcuts. Now, while SYN does proudly lean into its German roots, not everything is made in Germany anymore. The brand's design and development still does take place in Saxony, and special capsule collections like the Training Native line are explicitly labelled as made in Germany, using Italian recycled fabrics assembled to high standards. But for most of their production, SYN now works with trusted European manufacturers, primarily in Portugal and Italy. And this hybrid model balances craftsmanship with scalability, keeping the ethos of the brand intact while expanding its reach, much like how other brands do in Europe. So while not every piece is stitched in their hometown, the DNA of German engineering still runs through the brand. Now we're going to look into the online culture clash around this brand. Still, public opinion tells a different story. On forums like the Cycling Fashion on Reddit, SYN is often lumped in with brands like Panomau and other influencer kits. Some say it feels like a brand for bike influencers and the big logos put them off. And then one other one that made me laugh was it's almost become cringy. It's a little bit like dentist core. And honestly, I get it. The presentation today is sharply art directed, often seen on riders who look like they're shooting a lookbook mid-ride. Doesn't exactly scream heritage performance brand. But I think that's what makes SYN interesting. Because SYN isn't a dropshipper, it isn't hypeware, it's the reimagining of a decades-old German brand that was ahead of the curve on sustainability, technical design and inclusive sizing before most brands even considered it. And I think that nuance often gets lost in a feed full of logos and launch shoots. And whilst I was researching the brand, another interesting angle is SYN's Trustpilot profile. Now, since September, there's been noticeable uptick in positive reviews on there. At first glance, that's great. Customers are praising the quality fit and customer service. But if you do dig a little bit deeper and you start to search these people, you start to notice a little bit of a pattern. A number of these reviewers appear to be either influencers, brand collaborators, or potential colleagues. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean anything shady is going on, but it could be a genuine attempt to kickstart a presence on Trustpilot, especially if there wasn't many reviews on there before. I understand every brand needs to get momentum going somehow, but when the early praise comes from people who are potentially gifted the product, it does raise questions about how trust is being built, and whether that trust feels authentic to riders who haven't had the same experience. And that's not a takedown, it's just an observation. Now, wrestling with the perception of kit, and this is where I'm torn. Part of me does really admire the brand. It's a mother and son turning a local factory into a global cycling brand. It's the kind of story that I love. There's depth there, there's heritage, there's craftsmanship, there's real riders behind the scenes. It's a feel-good story. But then there's the vibe, the marketing, the presentation, the influencer-heavy lookbook aesthetic. It makes me pause, it makes me second guess if this is something I actually want to wear or if I'm just reacting to the way the internet thinks I should feel about it. The truth is, SYN challenges me. It forces me to separate story from surface. And that's rare in a space where so many brands either have no heritage or cling tightly to the past. And in summary, SYN isn't for everyone. It doesn't fit the Rafa heritage story. It doesn't carry Assos's old school race prestige. It's modern, polarising, and curated. But behind the surface, there is a lot more going on than you think. And for me, that matters because if I'm going to spend real money on kit, I want to know who made it, where it came from, and what they stand for. For me, SYN's been a brand that I honestly hadn't really heard of until a couple years ago. I'd seen a lot of influencers and a lot of people being, I guess, paid to wear the kit or being gifted the kit to wear, and I hadn't heard about it. I feel like it had a bit of an influx into the UK market. And when it came in, I think the bold brand, I think the bold lettering on the kit, it as a creative, it did get me a little bit and I did catch it and I did think, I do quite like that. But then when I started to see who was wearing it and the culture around the people wearing it, I didn't know if I fitted into that too much. So I don't think I bought into it as much as I should have. But now, doing my research to make this video, I actually have a bit more appreciation for them because I now know the real story behind the brand and it's not just some sort of drop ship kit coming out of China. It actually is born and was made in Europe, in Germany, which is literally not that far away from where we are now. And I have some sort of appreciation for it, knowing that. Yeah, my perception of SYN has changed since making the video. I don't know if I would be willing to pay €250 for a pair of bib shorts. It's one to sit on for sure. And I definitely think, now knowing the brand, I have an appreciation for them. I think they're cool. There we go. Now, what do you think? Is SYN the future of cycling culture or just another brand riding the wave? Let me know in the comments below, and please do hit subscribe for more stories about the brands that make us question what we wear, why we ride, and where style fits in.